Good morning. Sorry I'm a little late today. I'm just running around with my head cut off over here trying to get things done. Very interesting day, isn't it? Um, I'm not laughing about anything serious that happened in the world. I'm just noticing connections to things, and you guys should be too. So, on Sunday, P. Diddy, his house was raided in connection with sex trafficking and all kinds of terrible things. We got the basic story, but what I got from that is that they're taking out the big bad sex mafia. And I felt like it my first reaction to that was that they kind of threw a mid-level mafia person. I don't know what that orb was behind me, it's probably dust. Mid-level mafia person under the bus. And that made mainstream media. Okay. So all this time, the Alliance, the White Hats have been taking out behind the scenes the bad guys. Okay. I'm gonna try and keep this real simple so I don't put myself in any kind of danger. Um, they've been taking out the bad guys. We finally got something that you can't deny hit the mainstream media. Okay. So that happened, I believe it was Sunday. That today, a cargo ship apparently lost power. I haven't had time to look at the whole story. I got bits and pieces of information. If you have more information, put it in chat. I would like to know if it was leaving port off on a long journey, where it was going or where it came from. Took out the whole bridge. And I don't know if anybody was on the bridge, but I think there were. Could this possibly be the retaliation that the White Hats have tried so hard over time to shield the public from by doing everything behind the scenes, by taking the long road? It could be. Who has control of worldwide shipping? And how did these sex traffickers used to move people around? Could they have said, okay, no, you're not going to start taking out our main source of income now that the banking is you're trying to change the financial system? Also, what happened last time we tried to change the financial system? 9/11? What happened the time before that? Kennedy? We need to take a deep dive on this one. You guys need to be looking. For the inner meaning here. Now, when they raided Diddy's homes, I believe that was in California. I'm not sure. And then something happens in Baltimore, and they're like, well, it's totally, different area, and the ship clearly lost power, and, the guy, okay, well, it made it through the bridge. Then it decided to come back around. Oh, but it was malfunctioning and they could shift into reverse and stuff. So when your car loses power, can you then shift into reverse? Also, the bridge had charges on it. Now, people could say, oh, it's the friction from the metal and it was moving and it rubbed against each other. Really, interesting that it was in It all fell down just too easily from being bombed. Why wouldn't it have pushed it over away and become unstable and kind of fell in places? That dropped like a demolition on a building. Give me a break. I think it's connected. I think it was probably retaliation and also later on could be used in the media to justify some kind of war or retaliation against some other country. They could just easily come out and say, "Oh, well, this is terrorist activity. The ship was taken over by so and so, and now we have to go to war. And I'm sorry, you can't have Nasara Jasara. We're going to screw everything up." So I think that what happened with the ship on the Baltimore Bridge could possibly be both things. This is the retaliation. We all sit here and we say, "Why is it taking so long?" And blah, 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 blah. These are the kinds of things that the White Hats have tried to avoid time and time again. Probably bombs and buildings and stuff. And we may see more of this. I'm not trying to forecast fear, but I got a sneaky suspicion that that's what's going on. That they're in the final throes of this underground war against this huge mafia who's been in charge of the shipping worldwide so they can conduct their evil business of selling and abusing and on people. So it will be interesting to see what comes out about that. Could it be a distraction? I think it's retaliation. But these kinds of things can be used as a distraction. I do not believe in any ounce of my being that any kind of white hat good guy would do that, especially if there's people on the bridge. That guy meant to hit that bridge. Passed it. Oops. I mean, come on. How ridiculous is that? Oh, he kind of bumps it. And then he goes, "Oh, I just made it. Crap. Let's go back and hit it again." And set off the charges. Somebody's watching. Okay, set off the charges. It's like a cartoon, the way they're conducting themselves. Now we've got news that Prince Harry's named in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking thing. We've had news lately about the royals with cancer, nobody knowing where they are, and fake videos and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's getting interesting. Let's go back to the Gentel from the 21st. When I was called into the library. And the conversation in that cell revealed that the transition to Nasara Jasara is underway. Michael said that the World Bank is making sure all requirements are met to proceed. The news lately is part of those political and financial steps rolling out. We will continue to see more resignations, financial changes, and news about crimes and government officials in the coming days and weeks to prepare the public for the crashes and change financially, politically worldwide. I don't get called into the library for no reason. So, don't live in a state of fear. Don't stay in your house and, "Oh my God, there's a bridge there. I can't cross it." Just be aware of your surroundings. I mean, if you're going to cross a bridge, maybe take a look under it first, see if there's any big ships doing anything weird. There's really no way to know. But I told you a long time ago we would get to a place in this war where the minions will come out of the woodwork and create chaos. And there's a famous Q post that says, "We are taking back our great country from those who wish to do us harm." Who are they? Who are they? I believe we're going to see more of this. Now, there was also talk about recently about now when somebody said Al Sudani was going to come to Washington, it felt off to me, but we have reports now of ministers coming and um, meeting with the Treasury and getting things taken care of. And in the Gentel for 325, it said the RV is underway. They have not told the public yet. There's more financial preparations going on in Vietnam. The news of those final preparations and steps to be in compliance is very important, will be seen on the screens this week. Political and financial rulings and extensions will be in the news. At this point in time, we have an RV exchange redemption window of 4/1 to 4/12. If no further delays, my concern is I think it's pretty solid, but we're probably going to see retaliation right now. They're going to say, "Okay, well, we took out the bridge. You still want to continue this lawsuit about our P Diddy against our P Diddy and everybody else who is involved, or do you want to back off and turn it into something small?" Also, when do we go to gold? Gabriel said May Day. And I looked up May Day. That's an old term. Sometimes the angels will use a term that I would not normally use so that I don't put words in their mouth. And May Day is May 1st, 2024. Let's be approximate on that. Keep an eye out for more terrorist activity within our country. I have a feeling, not like a bad, terrible, oh my God, they're going to get us feeling, but they're going to try. They're going to try. I do believe if we've gotten to the point where things like the P. Diddy story are in the mainstream media, the good guys have won. But there will always be minions. And you can never predict where and how many there are. The fact that it was a shipping container ship, barge, whatever you want to call it, is very telling. And how that connects back to recent news about P. Diddy. So I don't believe this has messed anything up. I don't believe it's hurt the timeline, but it's very interesting. We'll have to watch and see what really comes, how they use this story the bad guys use this story to their advantage with the ship and the bridge. And that's my take on it. So let's go to some of the comments, see if I missed anything. And then we've got thoughts over coffee. Okay. Hang on, I don't see very well, so we're going to... Somebody's saying there could be another bridge in Independence, Ohio. What is the first thing they do when we're at war in a country? They start taking out bridges. Start isolating areas. All right. People are on board with me. They're thinking the same things. I knew you would. I knew you would. I knew you'd start making connections. Um, all right. How do I feel about that? Just trying to see if anybody's got more information on it. It was heading to Singapore. Really? Okay. So it already had been in dock. And you're going to tell me that a ship that's going to go across the ocean to Singapore, if that is indeed correct, nobody checked the battery, right? Nobody checked the engine. Don't they have people down there doing that constantly? There's no sensors. There's no nothing that tells you, hey, there's a problem here. There's a wire loose. Somebody jiggle something down there. Does that make sense to you? No. Doesn't make any sense. Stupid. I mean, even when we go on a road trip, don't you check the battery? Don't you fill up the fluids? Don't you check the air in the tires? Make sure you can make the journey? Make sure you're full of gas? Well, it just lost power and started freaking out. Yeah, I'm sure there's problems with ships, but, pretty sure if a ship loses power, it's just going to drift. Oh, we got power again. Let's back up and hit the bridge again. And then we can be dead in the water, right? Doesn't make any sense. So yeah, Singapore, Asia, people are saying it was taken off across. Okay, so why did it leave port if everything wasn't good to go? You know what? Christine Packer just said this, and I had that thought earlier, Christine. You're getting very psychic. She said the bridge was a ripple effect for the whole eastern seaboard. Buckle up, it's going to get bumpy. Get all you need now. I don't know if we really need, because me over here in northern Idaho, I don't think we just don't know. I told you a long time ago that we would be getting to a time, and the stocking up is so that you don't have to go to the store. It's not that you can't go to the store. Okay? It's that you're like, there's been some questionable things happening in my area, and I don't really know if I want to go out there. So for all you guys with anxiety, don't freak out. Okay? But I believe this is retaliation. I do in some way. I do. And will probably be used, or multiple things used, to probably create a scenario where, see, they don't want to lose their power. Okay? And their power is their money. And lots of behind the scenes money. And you guys know about the sex trafficking, which is a terrible thing to call it, because then people just get numb to it. Like, oh, okay, I guess it's just young ladies who want to be prostitutes. No. They'll probably use this or other attacks, other minions running around behaving badly, doing bad stuff, okay, as a deterrent for the good guys to take everybody out. Are we leading up to the time where they start taking out government officials as well? So, yeah, make sure you're stocked up. Be aware of your surroundings. But they might use these as an excuse and blame it on some country to go to war to stop the whole financial thing. And that's probably the bad guys, one of their options. But I do think it's just awfully coincidental. I think it's connected to the sex trafficking. It was called Sex Mafia. Let's do that. All right. What's this, Scooby-Doo? What an awesome screen name. Okay, Diddy has 30 years of human trafficking evidence. Cabal took out a bridge as a distraction to Diddy. In Baltimore? Maybe in the news. I failed to see how a bridge could distract from something that big. So keep your eyes and ears open. Let's see what else happens. Now, oh, in the containers. I just heard there were no people in the containers. The good guys. So if don't jump to the place where you think that the good guys are going to take out a bridge and all they had to do is raid the ship. I mean, they don't have to take out a bridge and let the bridge fall on the containers that have children and women and children and men or whatever in it. Hurt those people, kill everybody on the bridge. They're not going to do something like that. That's a black hat thing. Absolutely. This is the kind of thing that the white hats have worked so hard to avoid. That's why it made no sense to us. They're like, well, wait, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Yeah, there's a lot happening. And then something like this happens, we get an escalation. And they knew there would be something. But you can't be everywhere at once. And unfortunately, the mafia is everywhere. And you don't know how many members you got. Plus, you've been flooding the United States with paid minions for many, many years. And I told you they've been sitting there waiting to be called into work. From those who wish to do us harm. That has always stuck out to me. So if you're going to put out something like that and tell the public, from those who wish to do us harm. Now, if we were attacked by a country or we were at war, why would you say it like that? Why wouldn't you just say, oh, the Russians or the Chinese or whatever country it is, ISIS, terrorists, from those who wish to do us harm? You would say it like that when you don't exactly know who those or they are. When you can't really categorize them. When they could be hiding in plain sight. All right, let's see what else we got. You don't have to take out a very expensive bridge. That's a very expensive thing to do. If someone's driving on, just happen to be driving on the bridge, and then we time it just right so that the ship's freaking out, so that we can take the guy out on the bridge. Just shoot him. They're not going to do that. They wanted, yes, there is something to, they wanted something to show up in the news. I gotta take this off here. I could start talking and I forget to take that. Where was that? All right. They wanted something to show up in the news, yes, as a distraction, but it's also retaliation. It's also to make the bad guys stop doing, or the good guys stop doing what they're doing to take out their crime organization. And we're also we're coming around getting very close to Joe Biden with all of this. The Royals, I mean, they're taking out the big bad mafia, and we're watching it. They've been doing it for a while, But I think this is the escalation. Okay. Well, there you go. There you go. What was I saying that the other day? What was that about? Damn dementia. You follow the money trail and he'll be in there. Now the whole Epstein thing, they took him out, it was all pushed under the rug and everything else. This thing with Diddy is the same story, really. I mean, it's the same mafia. It's the same, it's another big guy. It's a very well-known person, and everybody watches because they know him now. Hang on. Started shining too bright there for a second. um, we're winning. We are winning. But they will retaliate. They will. Does Baltimore have a large Navy port? I don't know that. I don't know that. Let's see. Oh, that's terrible. Port of 20 construction working inside a truck that was working inside a truck was on the bridge at the time of the collapse. White hats wouldn't do that. That might be coincidental. I think maybe it just something was done. This was planned. I don't know if they've got like charges installed in bridges and things already. I mean, it did look like there were charges on that bridge. So who's the guy, without being seen, that climbed up the bridge to install the charges because it looked like they were in the top part of the bridge, the suspensions part? At the arc, didn't it? I mean, when and how do they do that? Do they go up there and install these charges without being seen? Oh, no, she said it were in a truck. No, were there construction people working on the bridge? Because you could be a construction guy working on the bridge and put those charges in and say, okay, we're all ready to go. Bring the ship in and hit the bridge, and we'll blow the charges. Is that typically how something falls, collapses, when if something were to run into it? Mm-mm. You think if it hit that support under that bridge? Yeah, it's a big, heavy ship. How fast was it going? Not very fast at all. Wouldn't it just loosen that support and possibly sag? But then you've got these cross members on the top with the arches that would kind of hold it together. So we got to blow those so that the whole thing falls, right? Doesn't make any sense the way it happened. Why am I not getting any more comments here? New comments. Weird. Everything, computer and phone and website and everything has been freaking out for me lately. Anybody else notice that? Okay. So Interesting. Phil's on it. He sees it. Doesn't make sense. Filling potholes on the bridge. Yeah. Okay. Good reason for to have men that nobody pays attention to on the bridge to set the explosives. Well, starting a war wouldn't just be distracting from Diddy. It's not that they're all trying to save Diddy. It's that it could be used like a 9/11 thing to start a war. Um, and to get so if we're in a state of war and we're being attacked on our own soil, all kinds of bad things can happen, can't they? And be blamed on that country instead of the mafia. They're trying to take out the mafia right now. So when they do something like that, and then we have an attack like this that they've tried to avoid as much as they possibly can, um, I'm thinking, hang on. You just never know what bee is going to sting you when you poke the beehive. Okay, they might swarm, and you could run, and there's one on your shirt, and there's, and you thought you're cool, and you got away from them all, but there's one in your hair, and that stings you. They just never know what bee is going to sting you, or if they're all going to sting you at once. And they have been presented with these kinds of threats all along the way. Yeah, that's what I think, Bill. Ships that size don't veer off direction and lose power. They've been steering, especially if it just came out of port to go on a long journey. Do you think all that stuff was checked? You think they can't afford to change the battery or to have it fixed? I mean, they have people down in the engine room probably working on it all that time. It's probably very sophisticated. It's probably got all these sensors and everything else, making sure everything is cool so they can make the journey across the ocean and don't lose power in the middle of the ocean. That's a stupid story. Lost power, malfunctioning. The ship was hacked. I don't think so. I think they had one of their minions in the ship. Remotely driven. There probably is some kind of autopilot. There probably is that, but there's got to be manual controls on something like that. You can't take a giant ship like that across the ocean in storms, in everything, not have extra parts, not have people working on the engine, not be completely like electric or at the mercy of. You might lose navigation, but to lose control of the ship. Not that they care so much about the people that are running the ship, but the ship itself is very expensive. And the cargo as well. Hmm. I don't know. I think it's all connected. Let's see. What else we got? Ship my car to and from Hawaii from Baltimore in the Army Main East Coast port for cars. Um, Do we have any? Can we confirm that? The captain was Ukrainian? See, I think everything everybody's looking at is just too surface level. Okay, the captain. It was just the captain. The captain did all of that. Or, oh, the battery died. Or, oh, the guy was just such an idiot. He couldn't figure out how to back thing up. It was malfunctioning and everything went bad. And then all of a sudden, the whole bridge goes down. Just like a building being demolished. No. Okay. Well, these are all kind of like rumors, so we're going to have to wait and see if we get more information on this. I'm pretty sure that we'll hear much more about this. Now, yeah, if the entire news feed for days goes to the shipping accident and the bridge accident, non-accident, and stops talking about P. Diddy, yeah, they've accomplished something there. But there's several things going on here. Oh, yeah, it was intentional. Absolutely. Ton of military air movement going on right now, and yesterday been crazy, yeah. Oh, and let's go back to the eclipse. As soon as I heard it, everybody's like, how many times have we had eclipses? Pretty often. And we make the little like paper bag, paper thing so that the kids can run out and look at the eclipse and everything, and everybody stand out there in the middle of the open and nothing happens to us, right? But this one's going to get you, right? So we have to send out the National Guard to be ready for the eclipse. And that whole thing made me laugh. I didn't know why, but that's kind of how things come into me sometimes. It's a initial feeling, okay? The National Guard is not deployed because of the eclipse. They are in place because they cannot predict where and how many and what these minions will do. Because the military in very deep levels and the alliance is taking out that mafia. Okay? Did somebody close the schools for the eclipse? When's the eclipse? Isn't it like the 8th? I feel like the eclipse itself, when people ask me, was a big nothing burger. Like, no, we're not going to get hurt by the eclipse. But we may be under attack inside our own country. Very interesting times. April 8th. It's the eclipse. April 8th. There you go. Thank you, Bill. Bill is a good student today. And ships have professional navigation pilots that steer them out of port before turning the control over to the ship's captain to go to sea. Pilots. So it wasn't just one drunk idiot of a dude. Oh my god, the battery died. Well, now we're in reverse. Okay, we're gonna hit that. Let's back up. Oh, now we backed up too much and we hit the, come on. This is a professional operation they've got with these ships. Okay, it's a very dangerous thing if you do something wrong. All right, so I'm gonna do some thoughts over coffee. We'll see what unfolds. With all of this, keep watching the news. Keep your thinking cap on. Okay. We don't want to get too pulled into all the surface level details. All right. Thoughts over coffee. I think I'm just going to stick. I have some thoughts over coffee, but it's going to be a long thoughts over coffee. Maybe I will touch base on it. Okay. I have many, many notes that I text to myself as I think of them. And then I put it together live. I just do that. I don't like reading a script. Okay. So lately we've been talking about empaths. We've been talking about how we were all pieces of God, made in the image and likeness of Him, just smaller pieces. And at the very base of our being, the very center of our being, is the highest of all vibrations. It's God's light, God's love, God's energy. And it is the element that houses all others. It is the element of creation. And what I found out is that so everything's kind of set up like a bullseye in the way that it was explained to me. So God being the center of the bullseye and the highest vibration, and the first ring around the bullseye would be the first dimension, which would be the seventh heaven. That's what I call it, because we're going to think about Earth as in this dimension that we're on, which we call the physical dimension. I believe whatever dimension you're on seems physical to you. We're going to call that 0. So you want to think of the bullseye. So we got God right here, 7th heaven, 6th level of heaven, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, and then us. Quite a ways away from the source, from the power of everything that feeds us. And that energy, might want to call it vibration, feeds everything all the way down to us. And as you, just like a flame, just like a campfire, the further you get away from it, the colder it is, the less heat hits you, right? So we're standing back pretty far. And at this place, we've decided that we need to eat. But why don't you have to eat in heaven? Maybe because you're at a vibrational place that's high enough where all of the negative programming and thoughts that could be put up as like a block, just sheet after sheet after sheet, blocking this light coming in. Now, you put up enough sheets from the sun, and it's going to get darker and darker in the room, isn't it? It's going to get colder and colder. Okay? And that energy, which is love, that feeds us, that energizes us, is diminished by these blocks. God created everything with the thought of creation, and then allowed all the pieces of Himself to also create with thought. Now we're just talking about this worldwide evil mafia. Oh, over the years, it may have changed names and everything, but it's always been the same thing. It's always been the opposition. Now, if you think about this bullseye, we got the center and we've got the 7 levels of heaven. We get down to uh, 0, and that's our dimension. All these rings around the bullseye are dimensions, and you can exist in each one. Every separation of self, of God. I'd have to tell you the whole God theory to fill it in, but just go with me here. Every separation of self must exist at a different vibrational spectrum. Otherwise, it gets sucked back into the previous one. Now, the dark side along the way throughout creation, however long that's been, that all these pieces of God, in order to go into another separation of self, another identity, you must forget who you are. You must forget that you're God. Okay? So along the way, through influence, some of these pieces have been so corrupted and their vibration has fallen so low that when they pass away, they go to the vibrational spectrum, the dimension that matches that. It gets sucked into it. All right? And so these bad guys have been so corrupted that they believe they're actually separate from God. They believe that they can actually conquer God. And so they're trying to corrupt every dimension on the way in to the center, and they think they can get God and snuff him out. The only thing that's going to happen there is that he'll just go back to the hole that he was before he separated himself. You can't do it. First of all, they're stupid because they can't get past a certain vibrational level. It's like a bug zapper. Okay? So where's the battleground? Do they just stay in their dark dimensions and have no power, and we just everybody, No. They must use humanity. They broke into this dimension. Archangel Gabriel told me they were never supposed to be here in this one. This may have been one of the levels of heaven at one time. It may have been a much higher vibrational dimension. Haven't got it all figured out yet. Basic idea. Okay? So, if when we're in heaven, we do not have to eat, we do not have to sleep, because the negative influence, the dark, low vibrational influences it cannot get there. So this dimension is the battleground. They must use the creators to do their bidding, and that is you and me and everybody else. Because they have been so corrupted, their soul has been so corrupted, they've blocked out too much of that light and they cannot create themselves. So they must use influence and programming to corrupt this dimension and make it their playground through you. That is why they have bashed anything that is good and pure and loving. That is why they have glorified laughter at another person's expense, behaving badly, called it all fun. So many ways that they have corrupted and controlled the programming and put people in places where sadness and struggle and all these things exist, and use that to convince them in their own minds that God does not exist. And if they can convince you that God does not exist, then that in turn convinces you that you did not exist, and they can use you as a pawn. And they can influence your own actions. That is the war in heaven. That is the war between good and evil. That is what's been going on. We are just witnessing another shift in the scales. It's not a fight for a country or a currency or laws or borders or anything. We're in a fight for this dimension. And it's been going on for a very long time. That is why we want to resist the negative thoughts. It's not about, oh, let's all have a happy life. I want to feel better. It's not about that. It's about, and especially you truthers, it's about not allowing them to use you as a pawn anymore. You're going to have emotions. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. You cannot control everything. Control is not divine. But you can start with you. Like I said, picture a shadow figure throwing you a big red ball. Every time some negative thought comes into your mind, something old that you already dealt with, some opinion you have of somebody, something you want to keep running over through your mind, because some people, they like to be angry and they like to be mad. They want to get it out and they just keep going with it in their mind, and it corrupts them. The programming is everywhere and we need to change it, but we need to change ourselves first. We need to be aware of it. And if you really want to wake up, this is the ultimate truth. It's almost kind of like a big, and everything's mirrored in creation. It's almost like how people say, oh, well, we've got my good side and my bad side, and this is at war with that within me and all this stuff. Maybe that's the same thing that's going on with God. Once you throw free will into the scenario, and it's not like just like God and all the good guys are like, well, that's a rule and we don't break rules. So, it's not about that. The reason that divine or positive spirits, positive energies that do not interfere with free will is because it's God's will. If he is a piece of us, or we are a piece of him, many different sized pieces, okay? A separation of self, then attacking you in your own mind and corrupting you is corrupting God. And they think that they can corrupt so much of him that they can destroy him, which is stupid, because they can't get up that high in dimension. So what they're trying to do is to corrupt the dimension within the minds of the people, and then the people's minds lead to action. We were talking about empaths, we were talking about energy fields. Just think about that campfire again. You got this energy, you got the fire in the middle, okay? And when people stand around it, they're really feeling everything from that fire. They're feeling the heat. They're having the experience, everything. And you get away from the fire and you don't feel it as much, okay? Well, these energy fields, you can step into somebody's personal energy field. People can have a personal reality. That's your life, is your personal reality, okay? But if you have a bunch of campfires, you have a bunch of flames, that energy's going to, let's say in a room, it all kind of combines, doesn't it? It all overlaps and intermingles and stuff. That's going to create a collective reality. And that's our world. It's actually the multiverse. But let's just look at our reality right now, our collective reality in the world. Now, if you have a lot of negative people, a lot of suffering people, that's gonna intermingle. That's gonna lower the collective vibration of the dimension. And that's their goal. Because if they lower it far enough, they can let in some big bad guys that might not need a host. And I believe that's the goal of a certain dark religion that is at the head of the power structure on this planet. So, in a nutshell, that's the war. We must maintain a balance. There will always be minions because of free will. But there can be more. Instead of flashlights, instead of flames, there can be bonfires, there can be searchlights that ignite within the individual person. When we wake up and realize what's been happening and why, there's been so much confusion. Confusion is one of their greatest weapons. Because just when you start to figure it out, it's like, well, you become confused. There's a Level of Heaven series that I did. And it is on JenniferFallaw.com. I have not gone back and redid the series. It was when we were all doing radio. It's audio. It's very interesting. The first level of heaven was very surprising to me and looks like what has been described as purgatory. When I went there, I was told to keep hold of Archangel Gabriel's hands and not look away from his eyes. And I'm like, where are we going? That's not good. It looks like a very foggy place. It's common ground. It's where souls go when they're so confused or on the fence and they don't really know where they're going. Most souls know where they're going. Even if the conscious mind is all wrapped up in addiction or mental illness or depression or whatever. Usually the soul knows the plan, but there are some souls that have been corrupted enough who have not decided which way to go. And what I experienced on the first level of heaven was souls in peripheral vision wandering around. And there are angels there trying to reason with them. But they don't know who to trust because everything is confusing, because there are also demons there trying to get them to come to the dark side because they have cookies. And don't eat the cookies. They're full of glass. But so there are spiritual people. There are many, many, many souls, angels that go into level 1 to save these souls and to get them to come home and to snap them out of it. They only need a minute. But they will use this confusion. The dark side will use the confusion to use you as a host. And those who have willingly gone in these terrible religions that we've seen. I'm not talking about the everyday people. I'm talking about the big mafia, okay? You know what I'm talking about. I'm not giving anybody glory by saying names, right? They have gone willingly and work willingly and invite the bad guys in. They're getting bigger bad guys. And they're becoming hosts. I mean, not just, well, maybe, we can influence this person to break up their marriage or quit their job or, be abusive to people or have an addiction. Not the average person. I'm talking major stuff and control the world. big bad stuff. These people are doing it willingly or so possessed that they no longer have any control. And when you're trying to take out a big group of bad guys who may not have control or never did, could have been born in, feel sorry for them, but that's in God's hands. You're going to get threats. They're going to fight tooth and nail because it's not about the people that they're using. It's about the ultimate goal. And they cannot have the people happy, wealthy, smiling, well, healthy, because all of these layers of programming, all these sheets that you put up to block those rays of sun, which would be God's energy that's nourishing you, that's healing you, that's helping you shine. All these levels, they cannot have you pulling down sheets. You cannot be getting more. You cannot let that vibration rise because collectively, the entire vibration of the dimension will rise and they won't be able to get back in. It'll be like a bug zapper. They would not be able to get in. That's how they can't get into heaven. They can get into that first level, certain spectrum. Now, that might even be in between levels. I don't know everything. I can only share what I've learned on my own. So the best way to ensure that they don't win is by pulling down sheets. Now, could we, if we were in this dimension, to pull more of God's light of creation, that's what we'll call it, light of creation into our bodies, into our minds, into our lives, would we have to eat so much? Would we have to sleep so much? Would it be very contagious? Could we heal ourselves? Yes. Would we need pills, devices, hospitals, others to tell us what to do if we have access to true guidance without all these sheets blocking it? That is their goal. They want to keep you in a bubble. They don't want you to know that you and all of us are little pieces of God who can do everything that He does in smaller ways in our own life. They don't want you to know that, because that's when they really lose power. Why is money so important? Why did they have to create money when we were bartering? Oh, because you can get more things. You needed more things. Did you? Did you need more things? Probably not. And or maybe they did create money so that it would just be easier. But that was corrupted. They corrupt everything that is the purest of ideas, the purest of people, the purest of messengers first. Because that is a threat. And they don't want you to know who you really are. It is absolutely okay to say that we're all brothers and sisters. It's absolutely okay to say that I'm a piece of God and I'm going to shine and I'm going to do my best to be Christ-like. I'm going to do my best to be the best little piece of God I can be. It is not okay to say, I'm God and you're not. That would be a mental illness. That's not okay. Don't do that. Through wisdom comes strength. And it seems like a whole lot of denying your feelings to do this kind of thing, but it's not. Are those really your feelings? If you didn't have that negative influence, that devil sitting on your shoulder, telling you how terrible you should feel all the time and that you should wallow in all the pains of the past and everyone's against you and it's never going to get any better. Would you really feel that way? Could you feel it at the time and be done with it? Yeah. Yeah. But at this point in time, could we make a conscious choice to seek happiness? To be the shining example of what we want people to be in the future. Could we truly be a beacon of light? Yeah. And Sue Jones and Marcy and Susan, that really makes a lot of sense now, doesn't it? That's always been the name for me. Beacon. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, okay, but it always has. My free group on Facebook, free psychic readings, Beacon of Light. My first shows, Beacon of Light. The beacon. We should all be beacons. And where does a beacon shine from? Do they shine in the sun? Can you see it? No. And a quote that I wrote a long time ago: when you feel like you're surrounded by darkness, be a beacon of light. It's come full circle. Makes sense now. I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, that you are the warriors and you are the strong ones that went down into the trenches at this point in time to be here now. And your life all this time has, why the hell would I come in here now? Why would I choose this profession? Why would I have all these struggles? Why would I even do that? Why don't you stay home where it was cool? Where everything was easy in heaven. Because God sent in probably the best pieces of himself. Because the most corrupted pieces of himself are present. And if what I'm saying right now makes sense to you, you know it. You've always known it. So, there's a lot more that I will learn about this and that I have to teach about this. But my thought over coffee about this, you're watching me learn this now. God-centered conscious creation, that's where it will lead. And it will eventually lead to a book called The Seventh Element, and everybody steals that name. I got video saying it's mine. And it's to help people actually be who they really are here. And to help raise the vibration of this dimension back to the place where it needs to be. So they cannot get in. And people talk about 3D and you talk about 5D, that's what it is. That's what it is. It's not going to instantly, boom, now I'm 5D and you're 3D. If you were 5D, whatever that is, you would never say that. We must remember a little more now about who we are, and you will, little by little, step by step. It's time to shine. Because, and they will try to stop you. There's a lot of darkness out there right now. But the one thing we know about darkness is if you've got a flashlight, and you turn it on, it goes away. When you flip the light on in the room, it goes away too. Boom! How easy was that? If you got feelings, give them the justice that they're due, but do not dwell in them. We are encouraged as a society to dwell in all of our pains and to wear all these badges and to have all these conditions. And we identify at that when we shouldn't. We should walk forward and we should move on. And the number one goal always is to seek happiness. Where have you heard that before? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's divine. So, truthers, you're not just truthers. You're on a spiritual journey. Surprise! And I see it, and I think it's amazing. And I have watched so many people. I can only talk about the people that I talk to and that I encounter and that have been coming to me. I offer lots of suggestions and lots of help and lots of teaching and stuff like that. But I've always told them, listen, what I'm going to share with you is my experience. It's what I've learned. What I'm going to share with you is the trunk and the branches of this tree that you call life. It's all your leaves, and it will be all your leaves. So we must look for the love in every moment. We must look for the happiness in every moment. And I'm afraid that it is our burden to go first, and it is our burden to lead by example, and it is our burden to be those beacons of light, but it is also our glory and our joy and our triumph. So now we're coming into a time where all those little minions who are controlled will be called on into duty. And we're going to have to keep our wits about us, and we're going to have to not get pulled in to the programming and the surface level crap that'll shut you up and sit you down and not make you look deeper. In the beginning of this whole thing, a lot of us were called digital warriors. Boop, and then they took your access. It's not about on the screens. No one can take your access away, because it's about the steps you walk and the people you encounter and how you conduct yourself and what you put out. And if you're putting out light, all those little flames turn into bonfires, and everything gets much warmer, doesn't it? Everything gets much brighter. You know, you go put 50 people in a room and give them all a flashlight and turn one on at a time. And we'll call that room our collective reality. Our collective vibration. And then start turning on one at a time and see what happens. And pretty soon, that room is really bright, isn't it? So, pretty deep thoughts over coffee, but these are the things I think of when I'm forced to sit still. And it's just the way I am. I don't know what to tell you. I'm on a mission here. And it's not me to save the world by myself. There are many of us out here who've been saying the same thing in many different ways for a very long time. We need to listen now. Because you want to talk about truths? We are conditioned to believe that all the falsehoods that they throw at us, all the surface level crap, is the truth. And you're crazy if you believe anything else. Oh, you couldn't possibly overcome that. You know, we classify people in people, so many classifications of people And when we do that, are we blocking? And we believe that we are a certain classification, like a long time ago. We're peasants, or oh, I didn't graduate college, so I'm just like, I can never really be anything. All these limits put on pieces of God. But if we were to all just look at each other now, on your path and in your situation, if somebody's doing something negative or doesn't fit in with where you're going and your path and your life and what you want to be, well, then we just move away from that. We stay on our toes so we don't get hurt or anything else. But if we were to fully believe that what we do for them, you do for God, that we are all brothers and sisters, and that we are all pieces of God, how bright would that room be? How much would we individually shine then? Most of the turmoil that you have in your head are things that you chose to believe. If it's not grief, it's things that you chose to believe. I could take a walk around my house right now. Let's say, okay, so I go. Let's say I went to my mother's house where everything's perfect and very expensive and big and new and everything else. Then I came home and I look at my middle class. Hey, I just raised kids and all my furniture is pretty much thrashed, and I haven't replaced that, but it's clean and it looks, it's kind of pretty. If I go to that more expensive home with the nice things, and I come home, my perception of my environment is different, isn't it? We're comparing. Who taught us to compare? God? And how is that perception influenced by our programming? My mother will come. I live in a very nice neighborhood, middle class. But she's gotten so used to that perception. She'll drive when she used to drive her car to my house, she'd come inside. Oh my god, I didn't lock my car. I'm like, Mother, we haven't locked our doors in like years. Everything's fine. I mean, this is a really nice area. And it's like, but it's not as nice as her area or her mm, castle on the mountain. So she thinks that she's going to get mugged or they're going to steal her car or something. I'm like, those are like irrational, fearful thoughts. Where's that coming from? Perception, programming. If we were to let go of all of that and just decide only if somebody is harmful to us or putting us in some kind of danger like animals do, would we let in more light? Would we heal? Would we encourage others with our example to do so? Yes. This is how you get to 5D. There is no shift. It's individually, one by one, those flames combining, the flashlights going on in the room to make it a much brighter room, a higher vibrational dimension. It blocks out. They cannot speak to you anymore. They cannot attach to you anymore. They cannot control you anymore. And that is how we get there, one person at a time. I'm gonna leave you with that because it's something that you and I could probably think about for the rest of our lives. But I see it happening little by little in many different people that come to me. Choose. Ever hear take the high road? Turn the other cheek? Be love? You ever hear about loving yourself? That's a hard one, isn't it? Because all the voices, that's the first place they corrupt you. Because the influence is telepathy. That's the strongest place. The thoughts in your head that tell you that you're less. when we're all made of the same stuff on different journeys, here to experience different things. But we do not have to suffer. And they have taught you that you come in damaged and that you must suffer. You must sacrifice. The God I know would never ask you to do that. Why? Because he is feeling and experiencing and seeing and knowing everything that you are right now and always has been. That's the reality of it. And so when you are loving and kind to another, you are loving and kind to him. When you choose not to engage with, that's why I say, I've always said it, didn't really know what I meant. We do not engage with the enemy. I learned that when I gained the perception and started doing the house cleanses and I watched the angels. They do not hesitate. They do not look mad. They do not tell the story and reason with the bad guy that's infested the home. They're there. Boom. It's instant. Get them out. Take them back to where they belong. They are taken back to the vibrational dimension in which they belong. Nothing is destroyed. Why? Because everything is a piece of God. Really can't destroy it. You can corrupt it. So, saying it's a very big topic is what I'm saying. I'm trying to fit it in before I have a reading, and I have one in 4 minutes again. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go. A lot going on. Keep your eyes and ears open. Do not stay centered in the negative news for long. Blast that screen. Take in the information. Know what you need to know. But then move on. We do not want to stay centered in low vibrational evil energy. It lowers your vibration. You can get pulled in, and then the thoughts start coming. Okay? Keep it high. Every negative thought, we want to turn it into a positive. Even if you don't believe it initially, you will. Keep saying it. You ever see a little short guy? Like really short guy with a giant truck? Okay? And he comes out. I've been hit on several times in my lifetime when I was younger, of course. But, like, by guys like that. And they walk up and they are absolutely convinced that they are the hottest thing that you have ever seen in your lifetime. And they're going to get you. You are going to be theirs. Why? Because they have told themselves that so many times that they believe it. I told my daughter how smart she was. My first daughter, you're so smart, you're so smart, you're so smart. And I had to teach her how to read when she was 3 years old because she got frustrated because she couldn't read the street signs. She believed me. Programming is the same way. You believe them. Stop engaging with the enemy. Okay? You're all good and pure and loving at the heart. You've just been corrupted a little bit. So bye. Everybody has. But you start believing more in God. And in turn, and loving him, and in turn, you will believe more in yourself and love yourself. And then you will shine. And that is our job. That is what we're here to do. Everybody comes to me, what's my purpose? I feel like there's something I'm supposed to do. That's it. However you want to figure that out, however way you want to show that, that's it. Collectively, together, as a team. The time is now. Okay, love you all. Gotta go. I got 1 minute to get to the headphones. All right, guys, have a great day.